there was a point where they were walking us out on stage to show us where our placement was during the taping. And so we walked out there, and the audience was already beginning to come into the studio. And I was so nervous that my throat was bone dry, and I couldn't get a word out.
Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast, where we share stories of inventors who turn their idea into a product. Please visit our website at www.inventionstories.com. And now, from the Invention Stories podcast World Headquarters Studios in Morro Bay, California, is our host, Robert Baer.
Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast, brought to you by the Socket Saver. My name is Robert Baer, and thank you for joining us. You're listening to episode 25, Elizabeth Crouch and the Cupcake Rack, Part 1. This episode is the first in a two-part series. Now, we first shared the story behind the Cupcake Rack on InventionStories.com back in 2015. And this is no ordinary story. During the process, her baby grandson, Little Roy, was assaulted and nearly died. To learn more, please visit www.inventionstories.com. Now, we've got Elizabeth Crouch, who likes to be called Liz, on the line. So let's get started. Good morning, Liz. Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast. Hope you're having a great morning. I'd like to start at the beginning. What kind of child were you, Liz? Did you enjoy figuring out how things worked, or were you an interior designer? Or you laughed a little bit, so I think that's a good sign.
Well, let's see. Maybe we should ask my mom what kind of a child I was. No, I was raised with two brothers, and I'm the middle child. And so I was very competitive, ate a lot, had to, get my share before the boys got it. And I was very busy, always on the move, always on the run, just very, very active and high energy. And so I wasn't really an inventor, designer, or anything like that when I was a kid. I liked to be playing sports and swimming and running around and playing with my friends when I was a kid. Okay. And I think it's the competitiveness part of me. And I can't sit still very easily. And so when I was working recently, the most recent job I had, it was like, okay, I need to do something more and something better. Just always wanted to achieve a little bit more.
I totally get that. So it sounds like you're just a regular kid like most kids, and you're competitive. Yep. And you don't want to be bored. So that's good. Did you have a family member who was an inventor?
No. Both my parents worked. My dad was a lawyer, and my mom worked for the telephone company for many years. So as far as inventing, my mom did a lot of crafts. She likes to do crafts, although I never was one that did a lot of crafts, which is funny because I think that with my invention of the Cupcake Rack, it's like something, it seems like it would be crafty, but my whole thing is I'm like too busy, too active to really be able to sit down and want to work with details very much. I want to get stuff done in a hurry, but I still want to do things in a beautiful way. So when I saw a baker that I worked with make cupcake bouquets, they were so gorgeous that I would stare at them as if they were artwork. I mean, I would just sit there and stare at them. I couldn't believe how beautiful they were. And I thought to myself, there's absolutely no way I could create anything that beautiful because I don't have any cake decorating skills, and I'm not patient enough to do crafts and stuff like that. But so then my daughter was pregnant with my grandson, who is he is turning 5 today. She was pregnant with him, and when we had a baby shower for her, I was going to order a cupcake bouquet from that lady that makes the beautiful ones. And when I found out how much they cost, I decided not to order it because it was way too expensive. So I thought, well, I'll try making one myself, even though I'm really not that crafty, not into that stuff that much. And then when I looked into the cost of all the pieces that you'd have to buy and the detail work, I decided, nope, that's too much hassle. So I just decided to buy a cake at the time. And that's when I thought of the Cupcake Rack. I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could create something that beautiful that make it really easy for somebody that like me that's impatient and is in a hurry and doesn't have a lot of time to fiddle with stuff that I don't know how to do very well. That's when I came up with the idea.
Yeah, you don't want to have to go through all the hassle, so you thought you'd go through the entire process of inventing something. So sounds like a lot more than just creating something, but that's cool.
Well, no, now wait, I wasn't quite that smart when I thought of it. So the baby shower was in August of 2012. The baby was born on September 7th, 2012. And I was so naive because I didn't realize, okay, now I'm going to be an inventor. I just thought, yay, I thought of something that's really cool. Well, it's such a simple idea that I should have it on the shelf by December. So trust me, I had no idea what I was getting into. I really honestly thought I could have it on the shelf by Christmas.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Looking back at that, but honestly, I guess if I would have thought it would take years, I probably never would have done it.
I hear that a lot. People say, if I knew I was getting into it, I probably wouldn't have gotten into it.
I'm glad I did because it has been one of the most fun journeys of my life. I mean, it's been great. It's been very up and down, a roller coaster ride, but I've learned so much and I've had so much fun doing it. So it absolutely has been worth it.
That's great to hear. I mean, putting all your money and your emotion and love and everything into creating your invention from the ground up, that you're enjoying it. So, well, I want to hear your elevator pitch. What is the Cupcake Rack?
Okay, so I was wondering if you've ever seen a cupcake bouquet. So the first time I ever saw a cupcake bouquet, I thought to myself, there's no way I could ever create anything that beautiful. I have no cake decorating skills, I have no patience, and I have no time. And that's why I created the Cupcake Rack. It makes it easy for anyone just like me to be able to create a beautiful cupcake bouquet. All you have to do is place 19 cupcakes into the Cupcake Rack, either homemade or store-bought, and you've created a beautiful cupcake bouquet. It's created within minutes, and it can be used for holidays, weddings, showers, birthdays, family gatherings, and it's extremely versatile. So it is the perfect event, dessert, and table centerpiece product.
I agree. I look at it because obviously we posted your story years ago, and I'd never seen anything. And then it seems like if you went to a potluck or anything, it does seem like people be like oohing and ahhing over it.
They do. Every time it's taken to a party, the person that takes the cake bouquet to the party using the Cupcake Rack, the whole time they are talking about it. Before I even had it manufactured, we only had the prototype. My daughter took a cupcake bouquet to a Christmas party, and people thought she brought in a bouquet of flowers, and she set it on the table. And when they realized it was cupcakes, all she did the whole night was get comments and compliments, and it also is a conversation starter. So she was in conversation all night long with that. It's just really beautiful. And then I've heard many, many stories from people that use the Cupcake Rack, and everybody just loves it. They think it's the most unique, beautiful thing ever. And then I just found one lady in the UK who makes the most beautiful cupcakes. I sent her a Cupcake Rack, and she made a bouquet, and I just posted pictures recently on LinkedIn with it. Oh my gosh, they are just gorgeous. It's just unbelievable how beautiful and easy it is to use.
Yeah, it looks like you can actually put the icing on the cupcakes a lot easier once you've already put them in there. I wanted to ask you, because you already mentioned it a couple of times now, cupcake bouquet, and when I think of it, I think of a bouquet. Why did you decide to call it the Cupcake Rack instead of cupcake bouquet?
Because, like I said, I was so naive in the very beginning, but I did a ton of research about every single step I took with the Cupcake Rack. And my first idea for the name of it was to call it the Cupcake Bouquet Rack or something like that. But when I researched it, I think the term Cupcake Bouquet was trademarked, and I didn't think I could use that in my name because of that. And that was like 5 years ago or 4 years ago, so I don't remember exactly now. But I believe the term was used the way where I thought anyway. I don't know now if I could have or not. But I thought I couldn't use it because it was trademarked.
Actually, I like Cupcake Rack better myself because I think a lot of people can't spell bouquet. And it really doesn't limit you as well, because I notice on your website that you have a number of different products that you sell. I'm not saying that I approve, but I think it's actually better. But things work out the way they work out.
They do work out the way they work out. And I thought, simple, the Cupcake Rack. Okay, it is a Cupcake Rack, and it is the Cupcake Rack, I think. But I just wanted to make it really easy so people didn't have to go, what was that name again? They can just simply think, what? Oh, it's a Cupcake Rack. Yeah, it's a Cupcake Rack.
Yeah.
Simpler, better, easier to find, I think, online.
And now it's time for a commercial break. The Invention Stories podcast is brought to you by the Socket Saver. Do the plugs fall out of your wall sockets? The Socket Saver is an easy, safe, and effective solution. No repairs necessary, no circuit breakers involved, no electrical knowledge or mechanical skills required. Socket Savers are inexpensive, efficient, and portable. For more information, please visit www.socketsaver.com. And welcome back to the Invention Stories podcast. I'm your host, Robert Bear, and we're speaking with Elizabeth Crouch, who likes to be called Liz, about her invention, the Cupcake Rack. Now, Liz, how was the prototype process?
Oh, my gosh. Well, there were many tears and many dollars spent because that was one of the very first things I did. I knew from watching Shark Tank that I needed protection. So I went about getting a provisional application first to be protected before I went out to look for any prototyping. And like I said, I knew nothing at that time. I had set up a budget that I took out of my 401k to use on my entire project. And so I got myself a provisional application, and then I went to make a prototype, and I thought, okay, I'm going to stay with local people in my area, keep some business growing around here because I live in a little area. And so I went to an engineer because I thought, okay, an engineer would know how to do this stuff. So I had a binder going, pictures of cupcake bouquets and drawings and ideas. And I went to this engineer, and he had this $1 million 3D printer. And I showed him pictures, and I said, this is what I'm looking for. And he said, oh, I can do that. And it has to be mass marketable and all that. So the guy said he could do it. And I kept waiting for him to return a call and everything. And finally, I got a hold of him after almost having to harass him because he wouldn't contact me back. And he did a 3D printout of a cupcake rack, well, whatever, cupcake holder, kind of like what I had in mind. And I'll tell you what, I spent $2,000 and it looked like a spaceship. And he said, well, I'm sorry, the way this is designed, you can't have it reproduced. And I'm like, no, unless you do it like in a 3D printer or something. I'm like, well, why then do that? And so I was in tears, but so frustrated with him. And I asked him, why did you make it like that? I was so upset. And he goes, well, I was distracted by your enthusiasm. And it was like, oh my gosh. So after many tears and me trying to figure it out, my husband said, Lizzie, I'll figure it out. Don't worry. So he actually helped me come up with this very last design. He welded together the prototype of the cupcake rack that we see today. So I wish he would have done it first before I spent $2,000. And I just kind of said, well, that was just wasted money. It's gone. And I just needed to wash my hands of it and move past that whole event.
Well,
oh my gosh, it was terrible.
I have two questions. Number one, you said that you cashed out your 401k to start this, and anytime you ever listen to a financial person, they say never do that. So that was very courageous of you, and I want to ask you about that. But second of all, I just want to say that I've never heard anybody say that they couldn't do the prototype because of your enthusiasm. That's about the weakest excuse ever.
Well, he did the prototype, but it was one that you couldn't reproduce. You couldn't have it remade with a plastic molding and stuff like that. And it was like, I asked him then, why did he make it like that? And, well, I was distracted by your enthusiasm. Oh, my gosh. Also, but you brought up a point that reminded me, I searched high and low for a manufacturer in America. And after I had my prototype done, I looked for welders, I looked for iron workers, I looked for companies that manufacture these things, and I couldn't find anybody to make the cupcake rack here in America. But as far as my 401k goes, I only took a portion of it. I didn't take the whole thing out because I'd been working at a casino where, I've been contributing. So I had some money in my 401k, and I just took out $20,000 to invest in this whole project. And little did I know that that's not very much money, but you know what? It worked. And I got my utility patent. I got my provisional patent at first. I got my manufacturing done, my first container full. I built my own website. So everything I needed to get started was completed with that initial amount of $20,000. So I know they say don't ever do that, but I wanted to quit my job. I wanted to get out of there, and I looked at what I would be earning every year, and I just thought that you have to take a little risk if you want to get past where I was going. And I had a really good job, and I was very fortunate because I'm not college educated. So I was in accounting at the casino. I had a really super great job with great benefits, but I just knew that I had to take a risk if I wanted to try to improve where I was at the time.
I'm glad it paid off. Where exactly are you? I know you're in Oregon. Are you in like a little city? Are you near Portland? Are you near...
Yeah. I'm in between Salem and the coast. So if you go to Salem and turn left toward the coast, I'm right in the middle. So Salem is about probably an hour or so away from the coast, and I'm in between in a small town called Sheridan. Yeah. And I'm near McMinnville, which is like the new wine country. I'm in the area where it's like the new Napa Valley over here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sounds nice.
It's a destination area now.
Cool.
Not my town, but near my town. This town, no, it's not a destination, but near my town it is.
Right on. Okay, did you actually build your own website?
Yep. First, I went to GoDaddy because I wanted a beautiful professional website. And GoDaddy has a great reputation. And when I researched them, they have the dream team that can make your website for you. Well, if you order a website from them and you pay them, the reason why they're called the dream team is because you only dream that they'll get the job done. So I got all my money back from them and said, that's it. I learned how to build a website. I didn't know how before. I just thought, okay, I'm going to figure this out just like everything. Every single step of the Cupcake Rack, it's like I would take a step forward and then there would be this huge obstacle in my way. But when you're on a budget like that, you really have to do what you can on your own. And so after the dream team didn't even put together a website, let alone anything worth looking at, I decided, okay, I'm just going to have to do this on my own. And so I figured it out. I went to Squarespace, and they're a really easy, user-friendly website to use. And so I built it through them, and they were very helpful as far as you have a question, you can just contact them, and they get right back with you and help walk you through it. I'm pretty happy with the results of it for being an amateur,
That's good to hear.
And it's held up. It's held up. I was on the Steve Harvey show and had so many orders that it crashed for, maybe an hour or something during the day of the airing. But then they brought it back up, and I was able to get all my orders through there. So I really love Squarespace. It's a good website for people like me, to build your own.
You can't just drop that nugget on us. You got to tell us about the Steve Harvey show. How did that happen, and how awesome was it?
It was so awesome. I mean, it was really, really awesome. Okay, so that happened because with my budget, of course, I don't have like an advertising or marketing budget. So it's like learn social media yourself. And so I do Facebook, I do LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram. And I also submit my story, which is even more. It's even bigger than the Cupcake Rack because you may recall my grandson being assaulted when he was 6 months old. That was part of my story, and I'm not sure if you remember that, but I can tell you about it again.
Oh no, I've posted that. That was part of our two stories, and as we when we posted your podcast, it's going to link to both of those.
Did we post that before I was on the Steve Harvey show?
Yeah, you didn't mention the Steve Harvey show.
Okay, so I submit my story to everybody. It's like if I can get on any TV show or anything, then I can maybe get the word out for the Cupcake Rack. So I submit to everybody, and the Steve Harvey show contacted me back and had me on the show. And it was so cool because they bought my airplane ticket to Chicago, put me up at a hotel there, when I got there at the airport, I had a driver. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm a star for a day. It was so fun. It's like, hello, driver, it's me. And then they took us to the hotel, or just me at that point, but there were 3 inventors all together for that episode. But they took me to my hotel, and then the next afternoon is when they picked us up to go to the studio. So I had the morning just to run around Chicago and take a look at it. And I saw Lake Michigan, and it was frozen over because it was February. And I got to a big, beautiful city, and it was amazing. So then they took us to NBC Studio, where Steve Harvey did his show. I'm not sure if he still does or not, but anyway, they took us there, and they did our hair and makeup, and it was just amazing. So then they put us each in our own green room, which was really cool. And so there was a point where they were walking us out on stage to show us where our placement was during the taping. And so we walked out there, and the audience was already beginning to come into the studio. And I was so nervous that my throat was bone dry, and I couldn't get a word out. And I was like, can I have water? I was so afraid I was not going to be able to talk because no words could come out of my mouth hardly. And so then when they took us back to the green room, I'm like, okay, I need to calm down. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event that I want to enjoy. I don't want to miss it by being so nervous. So I calmed down enough that when we were out there and Steve Harvey came over for my part, I was able to talk a little bit. But I guess I was more nervous than I thought, because I thought to myself that, okay, I seem to be doing fine while I was talking and everything. And I had picked up the Cupcake Rack while I was talking to show it to Steve Harvey and the audience. And then I looked at my hand and I realized I was shaking. And so I put it down really fast and went, okay, it's all right. I'm still talking. My throat's not as dry as it was then, Oh, my gosh. But it was a blast. It was amazing.
Yeah, I know.
And
that's great.
Another event I got to go to because of the Cupcake Rack was, have you ever heard of Edison Nation?
Yes.
It's an inventor's website.
Uh-huh.
Well, with them a couple of years ago, they sent me to Washington, D.C., and I got to exhibit the Cupcake Rack in the Russell Senate building, and we were in the Kennedy caucus room, this room where the research that I did on it showed that that's where they had the Watergate investigation, that's where they had the Titanic investigation, and that's where they had one of the Kennedys announced his presidency candidacy in that room, and the cupcake exhibited there.
There you go. There you go.
It's like, wow, this is cool. That was really a cool trip, too, going to Washington, D.C. and exhibiting the Cupcake Rack. Oh, my gosh, amazing.
You've been listening to episode 25 of the Invention Stories podcast, Elizabeth Crouch and the Cupcake Rack Part 1. I want to thank Liz for being our guest today. More information can be found at www.thecupcakerack.com. The Invention Stories podcast has been sponsored by The Socket Saver. Does the plug fall out of your wall socket while vacuuming, drying your hair, using a power tool, or recharging your electronic devices? The Socket Saver is an easy, safe, and effective solution. Please visit www.socketsaver.com. If you're an inventor who would like to be featured on the Invention Stories podcast, have a suggestion on how we can make this podcast better, or would like to become a sponsor, please contact us at inventionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we invite you to write a positive review for us on iTunes. An easy way to get there is to go to www.inventionstories.com/review. More information and show notes can be found at our website, www.inventionstories.com. Thank you very much for listening today, and please tell a friend.